Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are going to be making this really pretty card with a lovely sentiment in the centre. I'm not going to be putting the bow on today because the bow, I actually got some from the clearance rack recently, but it's not current and it's all sold out, so I'm not going to be using the bow. But I thought it was lovely to have some little garden birds that are all about at the moment. Being autumn, there's birds everywhere, and I thought it would make a really pretty card. So the stamp set that we're using is another Christmas one, but again I'm not doing it for Christmas, and it's called Feathers and Frost, and we're using the beautiful little birds here, which I think will be great for robins at Christmas, but because they are sort of generic birds, you can make them any little garden birds. And we're going to be using one of the little leaf parts as well. And for the sentiment, we are going to use in Enjoy Life this sentiment here because I absolutely love it. It says, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And I think sometimes when we look out at nature and see all the birds on the bird table, it does make us feel thankful. So we are going to do this as a layered card. So let me give you some measurements. The base is going to be 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. The second layer is an inch smaller, so I've gone an inch smaller on both of the other layers. So this layer is 2 3/4 by 4 1/2, and the little layer again is an inch smaller, so it is 1 3/4 by 3 1/2. And this is really just to give a little bit of interest to the card. So I'm going to actually glue this on first. So 2 seconds because my glue's on the other table. Right, grab myself my glue. I always have my glue in separate places. So we're going to glue it together first because what I want is for the layers to be already stuck on. So we're just going to take a little bit of glue around the side. Don't need a huge amount. And then we are going to line this up. Let me try and get this here in the center and line it up as best as you can. On camera it's very difficult to get it perfect, but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But obviously when you're doing it, you'll spend a little bit more time than me and not have the camera right above you. So you will probably get it a little bit more accurate than me. So basically I'm just lining this up so that it is as centered as I can get it. Okay, so now you've basically got 3 layers, and it really is just to give some interest. Now I've mounted these already, and we are going to use a good black ink. You can use any ink you want depending on what medium you are going to be colouring it. And we are then going to take one little bird and put it in the corner here. And again, press it down for a few seconds because then the ink will soak into the cardstock and you won't get the ridges. And then pick it up. And then we are going to take the other bird which faces the other way, and we're going to pop him in the other corner. So again, lining him up and just pressing him down, holding him down for again a few seconds. It makes all the difference just holding it for a few seconds because that ink does soak in and then you don't get little spaces. And then we are going to put another little bird down at the bottom in this corner, like this. Hold it down just for a few seconds. And then another little bird in the other corner. Like that. And then we are going to take the other little bird and put it in the center. So lining it up as best as you can. As I say, I'm on a slant here because I'm on the camera, but when you look over the top of it, you will get a better distance between them. But as I say, just one in the middle and then one in the opposite corner. And again, try and line him up with the other one. I get a shine on the top of my block from the light, so it's very difficult to line it up on camera. But as I say, I do my best, so hopefully it's all right. Like that. And then we are going to take the little leaf part and we're just going to put a little leaf. There are two different shapes, but I wanted to just have the leaf going in the same direction, so I'm just going to press this down and have one there, ink it up, move it round and put one in the center of each one. And I'm trying to line the leaf up so that we have a little bit going into the center of the or onto the edge of the third panel. When you colour it, now you can put this up with dimensionals and things afterwards. You can do it in matte it so that you have a definite line, but with this I just wanted it to be just a little bit of interest, so it's doing no more than just giving a little bit of interest. It's not really meant to be a layered card as such. So pop this one on here, and then we've just got one more on here like that. Okay, so now we are going to take the sentiment, which I haven't put on a block, so I'm going to have to do that. Now let me make sure I've got the right one. As I say, I love some of the sentiments in this stamp set. I do use them a lot. I use all of the things, but I like how beautiful a day can be when kindness touches it. As you know, I love love you and the font and the swirls on it, and thank you kindly and miss you, and oh, just some lovely sentiments on there. So I'm going to take this one off. I will be cleaning them afterwards, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. And we're just going to line this one up in here. Hopefully it'll just about fit. Probably done with it one block bigger, but we'll make do with it. And we are then going to ink that up, and that's going to pop down in the center. Now I am going to bring this down because I do want to get this lined up and the right way round with a bit of luck. So my head is going to probably pop in between, but I want it to come in the center like this. And then again, just press it down for again a good few seconds on this, because it's wording. You want all the words to come out very clearly. So if you press it down and allow that ink to soak in, it means that you get your lovely words, which is beautiful. Okay, let's put these out of the way. As I say, I will clean them afterwards. And now we're going to get on to colouring. Now, we have lots of different mediums for colouring, but I think this time I am going to use some of our blends, because that's probably the quickest way. You can obviously use our watercolour pencils, you can use our Stampin' Right markers, you can use whatever you want. This is where the fun sort of begins. So I'm going to start off with use the green, which is, this one is light old olive. So I'm just going to do that just for the leaves. So I am doing this quickly because it's just to give you the colourings. And as I say, the Stampin' Right markers are lovely because they are difficult to talk at the same time, but they are very juicy, and you literally just need to, the technique with them is not to press too hard. You literally have to just stroke the paper, and when you're nearing the edges you almost need to just slightly dot it. You don't need to, as I say, press hard. The tip of this is hardly touching the paper at all, particularly when you're doing small images. It gives you a little bit of a technique. Now you can blend these through in using the light and the dark. I'm literally just colouring this very quickly so you can see how pretty this card will be. So let's get that little one in on here. And then I'm going to do, because I want it to be sort of an autumnal, I'm going to use the dark, let's make sure it is the dark one. Yes, it is. It's the dark rich raspberry. And we're just going to, and this literally, you just need to touch it to just do the little dots in there. You can see how juicy it is. And you're hardly touching it at all, because as soon as you touch it on the paper, it will start to flow into the cardstock. So as I say, literally just a little tiny tap, otherwise it'll flow over the edges and it'll spoil it for you. Okay, now we are going to use the light and the dark pool party, and I'm going to have these little birds as little blue tits, I think. So I'm going to turn it upside down because I don't want to go over it. So we're just going to do the pale up at the top, down here, and I'm going to alternate them. So I'm going to do this one, and again just doing the pale up at the top, that one, and this one in the corner here. So the pale one up at the top like this, and then we're going to use the darker one, and we're just going to blend this through so that you don't have it too bright all the way through. So you're just putting it on here. Oops, I nearly went and did the wrong one. So as I say, just put it through like this, and this little one down the bottom here. So you've just got that sort of two-tone coming in. And then we are going to use, what are we going to use for the other one? I think the other one will be a finch of some sort. So I'm going to use the light Calypso Coral and the dark Calypso Coral. So on this one, exactly the same thing. We're just going to take the light on the top of the bird, the light one up in here, like this, and the light one on the top up in here. Just bring it down a little bit. I might bring that one just down a little bit as well. And that one, we don't want too much of the dark at the bottom. And then we are going to use the dark. Do I want the dark or the light? No, I don't actually. I'm going to use one of the pale pinks because I don't want this bird to look too dark. So I'm actually doing it the other way round, which I think will work. So just blend that through a little bit. Take it through from the bottom, blend it through, and exactly the same on here, and blend it through. Okay, and then we are going to use the the light crumb cake, and we're going to do the little birds. And again, I'm going to alternate them. So I'm going to have this little one is going to be in the pale crumb cake, and we'll do the other one in the dark. And as I say, I am doing this very quickly, but it's for you to see the idea. The nice thing about colouring is that you spend quite a bit of time doing it, because the more time you do it, the more you'll get out of it, and the nicer the card will be. As I say, this is to just show you how beautiful these birds are when you colour them in. And let's do that one here. So we've got the little pink ones in the light crumb cake. And as I say, I think that they look like little chaffinches and little blue tits. And as I say, you get so many birds that come into the garden at this time of year because they're trying to feed up and store up for the winter that is approaching. And we're going to use the dark crumb cake on the alternate ones. So let's do this one. And again, you can see I'm hardly touching the cardstock at all because I don't want it to blend through out onto the outside too much. As I say, if you are heavy-handed, you will find that the ink will blend through onto the outside of the cardstock and bleed through. So it's literally just almost little dots. You can see I am hardly touching the cardstock at all. In the centre bit you can a little bit more, but again it's just very, very light little strokes. And I always try and turn it round so my hand's not going across my work. It's one of the things I've learned with experience, that if you tend to colour and your hand goes across, you can quite often smudge what you're doing, and also end up getting it on the bottom of your hand and then rubbing it across the card. So if you turn it as you go, then that doesn't happen. Okay, now I'm just going to add on the little speckledy bits at the bottom here. I'm just going to coordinate with those colours. So let's take that dark pool party again. And we are just going to add just a little bit of colour just down on where the little dots are. So the bottom of the breast, just to sort of tone it in. And then do exactly the same with the dark calypso coral. This will show up a little bit more because it's a bit darker, so just bring it down onto the body, just a few little dots and a few little dots down on here. Okay, so that is just about all that I'm going to do on this one, I think. I will mount it onto a piece of white cardstock like this. Now, you can sponge around the sides if you want to. If you look at the original one that I did, I used the Vegas Gold shimmer paint and just went round the outside. You could do that on each one of the layers, but I didn't want it to detract from the birds. So there you have it. You've got two different ways. This one without any sponging round the edges, and this one with a little bit of gold and a bow. But I think that they make absolutely beautiful cards for anybody that's a bird lover. And another way of using this lovely stamp set, which is Feathers and Frost, which has so many potential card ideas for Christmas time, which I'm going to be starting in October, but I'm using it for other ways because our stamp sets can be used all year round. So thank you so much for watching me, and I do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.